K-Vision TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. Welcome to our topical discussion, a platform where we bring you different dignitaries prevailing on the expertise to discuss the state matters in the status quo. Thank you so much for being part of K-Vision TV. My name is Ukash and I'm your host. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I host different dignitaries ranging from economists to politicians to discuss matters Uganda. To be precise, we have a lot of issues to discuss, but mainly, or our key issues, range to one or two. And these include the state of our economy or our post-COVID economy. What is about the economy? What will our economy look like after the COVID-19 pandemic? And two, we can't leave the COVID-19 pandemic economy without assessing the performance of the COVID task force, both national and local. I'm talking about Kasese district. Welcome to the show. As spelled earlier on the issues we're going to discuss about, ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you my panel. I'll start from my right. One by one will introduce himself. I'll give them 20 seconds for introduction and the preamble. Then we can start with our first on the agenda. You're welcome, boss.
Thank you very much. The host of Ukash International. I'm called James Magribat, an educationist, Kasese Secondary School, and in community, I'm a historian, I'm a senior citizen. Really, I'm blessed to be here, K-Vision TV.
Thank you, Ukash International. I'm called Bomera Richard. I'm a political leader. I represent the Blended Division of Kasese Municipality to the District Council, and I am the spokesperson for the NRM in Kasese District Council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I go to the left, Mzee, sometimes they call you a veteran politician. Do you agree with that?
Exactly.
Sure.
I am.
Go on.
Yeah, thank you. I am Matee Saul, the FDC Chair, Kasese District, Regional Coordinator, FDC, Rwenzori Region. I'm happy here to be hosted by Kevin.
K-Vision TV.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, because of our time and matters we have to discuss, I assume we need to move rapidly. And there you go, we start with our first issue, which is the state of our economy after COVID, or the post-COVID economy. To start with, this is where I want to engage Mr. Bomera, a councillor and the spokesperson of Kasese District NRM. We've had a series of communications from a president, of which I call most of the times PR statements, comforting the people of Uganda that our economy will not be touched with the so-called COVID thing. It will not be affected with the COVID. He affirms. So, Mr. Bomera, this is why I want to engage you first. In your realistic perspective, do you see our economy staying more the same?
Well, I thank you.
In your realistic perspective, let's leave alone the PR statements.
Yes. Realistically, I have to disagree with the president, because when he says the economy will not be affected, and yet we have already started seeing signals of the effects of COVID-19 to our economy, in terms of reality, I don't agree with him. Maybe some of the statements are political, because when Ukash,
we call them PR statements.
Yes,
for public consumption.
Yes, because I may give an example of Kasese district, which is a tourism hub, and I am aware that with our budget, tourism has been contributing a lot, which has been actually reaching the community, especially the places that share neighborhood with the national park. Kasese is blessed to have had the two national parks within itself, the Queen Elizabeth National Park and then Mount Rwenzori National Park. We have been receiving a number of tourists from outside there, whom I believe leave a lot of money in our district. And from the time COVID-19 was discovered in Uganda, tourists were stopped from coming to Kasese, and I think a lot has been missed. Now, going to the social welfare of our people, you are aware, Mr. Host, that in Kasese, for example, if I may give Kasese town as an example, we have been having very many markets. Some of them were mobile markets where you could find very many people bringing in a lot of property from different areas, including the second-hand clothes that have been helping our people. To date, we are no longer having all this, and I believe these have an impact on the economy. And now if I may go national, you are aware that our national budget has been dependent on tourism. And now that we are no longer receiving these tourists, I believe our budget will be greatly affected. And once the budget is affected, then it means the economic status of the country and also the citizens will greatly be affected negatively. Thank you.
Budget depending on tourism and donations also, you've forgotten that.
And donations, of course.
Donations.
Yes.
Okay, this is where I want to chip in, Mr. Saul, Matee. As of now, our fear, or the people's fear in Uganda, is that as doctors are working tooth and nail to look for a cure for COVID, more so get a vaccine. That is a long-term solution for COVID-19. I mean the coronavirus. We've not had anything like an economic committee sitting down and try to dissect issues or matters of post-COVID economy, because I'm afraid it may be the worst ever experience in our country, especially in this reign. So where I want you to come in is that has government really done enough to show signs of preparation of the post-COVID economy? I mean, preparing for the post-COVID economy in terms of bailout. What's your thought?
Not at all. Thank you. One, what we are looking at is that a lot of efforts has been concentrated at the national. If you can recall, most businesses have been closed from where taxes were being paid, in which case revenue is no longer rising as it used to. You just look at that. And of course, when you look at these factories, you have heard that many companies, factories have laid off workers. These were workers who were paying taxes. And of course, they were supporting their people and other people. Of course, that is a sign that in future, the economy would directly be hit. Like the Councillor for Burembia, Honorable Bomera, has put it. Of course, the tourism industry has been fetching $1.6 billion, which is no longer the case. These people who is to take these climbers, the tourists, up, it is no longer the case. So you just look at a situation which has not been prepared for. By the way, this one I must say that is unfortunate that even technicians in the health sector have not guided Mr. Museveni on this, because there are statements that have been put for the communities of this country. Tomorrow here, another statement. A case in point is that just recently you heard that government was going to supply masks to all Ugandans. But now we hear there's even no money for those masks. Now, 19 companies had applied to produce those masks. Only government focused on 19. But then it is said that if it is only one company that is going to provide the masks, it will take 140 days. That is close to 5 months. And yet, people are waiting after 2 weeks, as Mr. Museveni promised that after 2 weeks, the masks will be ready for all Ugandans. And if all companies that applied, the 19 companies, if they were all allowed to produce, it will take them 31 days. Because the problem is that only 25,000 masks can be produced by 19. So this is a challenge. Now, people in the country, the citizens of this country, we are in total darkness. We don't know who is guiding who. And what is surprising, whereas we are all Ugandans, especially me and others who are in the position, our work is to advise government. Whenever we put in our effort, government doesn't want to listen.
Okay. Now I'm going to chip in on the possible recovery. What can we do, or what do you advise the government to do, of course, to recover from this post-COVID blow of our economy? I'm going to chip in that. This is where I want to bring in an economist, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert, you had Mr. Saul. He talked about even what I call a biggest joke of a century, where that Nigeria can produce 30 million masks in 2 weeks. So in a week, because they said by 2 weeks they'll have supplied to Ugandans. So we assume by a week it would have been ready.
Which has already ended.
A week which has already ended. Yes. So I call it a biggest joke of a century. Now, Gilbert, where I want to chip you in is this contradiction. President says 2 weeks mask, then all of a sudden the ministry comes out and says we don't have the finances. Then even back, we've been seeing supplementary after supplementary after supplementary appeal for donations. We've not gone to the task force, but we chip in here because the economy issue. Government has not fed people. Government have been beggars from day one, for well wishers. Mr. Gilbert, can I think that Uganda is in a very, very sorry state that we don't even have reserves for cash, that we can do things for people?
Thank you, the host.
Because if I chip in, Ghana recently, the report I got, the government foot all utility bills, electricity and water. Don't we have enough resources as government?
Thank you. From the previous speakers, Mr. Bomera says presidential guidelines are a bit political statements, and I will concur with him. Last financial budget of the country, Uganda, was 42 trillions. And out of the 42 trillions, the minister says that we shall have to generate our own resources to the tune of 60%, meaning we would be in for donations, grants, and borrowing 40%. The COVID-19 scenario which has come, they talk in terms of billions, not trillions. Then you remember that national celebrations which have been halted because of the situation, such as Women's Day, Heroes Day, Labor Day, and now we are having something to deal with Matee Day coming and lead us something to the tune of $1 trillion. We are not including in the VIP's flights abroad. Now, my concept is that the Uganda's economy is not too much poor to the point that the head of state should come out to beg for vehicles, to beg for posho, cassava, to give to the people of the republic he is leading. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching K Vision, it should be understood that when we are talking about Uganda's economy, which the president talks about when he came from the bush, which was depending on mainly exportation of maize, coffee, and some pieces of cotton. Just few tons, which he numbers every time he talks of GDP. It is not Uganda of today. Now we come to the question of saying, shall we be affected? What is an economy, ladies and gentlemen? An economy is that household or a given area where production takes place, consumption takes place, distribution takes place of what? Of resources which are being produced. Now we come to the question, shall we be affected? Then we need to identify what are the agents of this economy. The agents of the economy are the people who are producing, that is the manufacturing system. We are also talking about the government which is directing production questions, and also talking about the consumption chamber of it. That consumers are ready to say, we want this. Now let's see what it takes to produce. You will need an environment which is allowing you to produce. Now, our industries are under lockdown. What is the meaning of the word lockdown? And this is the statement given by the president that we are going into a lockdown for the 14 days. We are into a lockdown for 21 days. A lockdown of 14 days. And now a lockdown of 21 days. What is the meaning of the word lockdown? It means all other normal activities are put on hold. are the manufacturers therefore producing at maximum? Never. In any case, if they are doing it so, they are doing it at a process which we call excess capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, when if you do something at less than installed capacity, it means you are causing a shortage. I also shall not blame them, because even if they produce normally, who is going to consume the output?
I think if I don't cut you short, in the main among the three key factors you put across in an economy is a consumer. You get the point? Consumer detects or determines the whole flow. I remember when lockdown started, all of us were touched financially. Even me myself, I changed the mode of breakfast I take, even the mode of lunch I take. So however much people selling food in the market are selling, it's not like they are the way I used to do. Are we together? It is because of the consumer that one day I went to interview the men in the abattoir. They said these days from 20 to 25 cows slaughtered daily in Kasese town only, they are on 3. Said why? I said consumer. Someone who used to buy a kilo sometimes buys a quarter or a half, or sometimes none.
So my point is that the production chamber, which is in our economy, is already having challenges. Even when we are not we are still in COVID-19. What does it mean? It means that the resources they have always invested, most of them are where they come from loans. If they don't come from loans, then they are grants from foreign countries, which are mostly hit by what? COVID-19. It is also believed that the population which has been affected mostly by COVID-19 is the elderly group. And this is the elderly group which in developed countries tend to come and give us what we call grants. You are seeing several NGOs around us. They are operating mainly on grants. Where do grants come from? Do they come from such a young man of my age who is anxious to make here and there a lot of resources? No, it should be coming from a population of societies or citizens who have outgrown the luxuries of the world. They have made a lot of money and they are now looking where to leave legacy. As we talk now, Italy has lost the majority of the 80s, 90s, 70s age bracket. It is the same case with USA. It is the same case with other German countries, and those are our founders of NGOs. I'm coming to come closer. Now, when we come to the consumption chamber, that is the demand side. The demand side is that we are the domestic consumers, almost 90%, because Uganda has always had what we call BOP deficit. That means that we import a lot and export less. So what makes us import a lot and export less is that our population cannot manage to consume what is locally produced, and at the same time, the producers cannot also provide what we want as Ugandans.
Compete with the exporters
outside. At the end
outside.
of the day, Ugandans who are running for that status of I should have a good car, I should have a good mansion house, they are looking for capital goods instead of consumer goods. At the end of the day, we are now locked up.
Sure.
Having been locked up in our homes, salaries are halted. Aware that 80% of Ugandans, they are unemployed. I'm talking about the youth, who make the largest proportion of the national statistics by population. At the end of the day, you expect these people to come out and buy as usual when you say, okay, you are free to go. Ladies and gentlemen, the statement of saying that taxis shall be taking half of its capacity is itself an effect on the economy. When you say that schools should not open only candidate classes, it is already an effect on the economy. When you bluntly tell us that we have only tourism and hotel being affected, who is supplying the hotel? It is a farmer. Therefore, if he is not supplying, what is happening to him? So it's not the business of saying I'm going to produce, that the economy will not be affected.
Okay, Mr. Gilbert, I'm afraid I have to cut you short a little. Let's go to the recovery because we are taking a lot of time and we have an issue to discuss about the COVID task force. Before we can go to our next issue, before we can go to the recovery, then our next issue. Before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, we are shooting live from Cafe Olimako, our main sponsors of this topic or discussion. You want the best ice cream in town, the best coffee, My colleagues here, my guests, are enjoying the most beautiful coffee they've had in Western Uganda. Just like Jerome confessed last time. You want African tea, you want different snacks, fast foods, ranging from chips, pizzas, sandwiches, chicken, all kinds of foods and fast foods are got here at Cafe Olimako. Come and have your better experience in terms of foodstuffs at Cafe Olimako. This is where I want to put chip in, Mr. I think you'll conclude this issue, Mr. Bomera, but I want to chip in Mr. Saul Matee. As opposition, we take you as the most advisors, the most influential advisors for the government. In the recovery mode, what do you think government must do, or what do you think government must embark on immediately to start saving our economy or recover our economy?
Yeah, one, of course, we have a number of businesses that were closed. They should be opened, and of course, most of them have taken time without earning, without saving any money. There should be a grace of time. They should be exempted from taxes so that they are able to organize themselves, because most of these business people have loans, and of course, with the banks, they don't stop. They will continue accumulating. This is it. And I think government should be able to listen, because we people on the opposition, we are Ugandans, we love our country. When it is in a good situation, we also become so happy. And of course, government should not be very, very strict as it has been, because there are so many business people, companies, and as we are aware, individuals, even companies, did donate to government towards this task force. Actually, government should be also in a position to appreciate that one in return, so that someone...
By easing the lockdown.
Exactly.
This is where I agree with you.
Exactly.
I think there are businesses we can open on condition that follow the guidelines, the healthy guidelines.
That's right.
Wash your hands, keep a distance.
That's right.
There are Cafe Olimako, keep a distance 2 meters. Someone should sit, only one person on this coach, and what? Operation should move on. So that a business should assume like it's moving on. I'm going to chip you again on the next topic. This is why I want Mr. Bomela to sum it up all. What do you think can best be done to save our economy? Because I'm afraid there are tenants, our pangisa, who are going to come back for work. Their businesses have been closing for the past 3 months. The landlord wants 3 months and wants some months ahead. Are we together?
Yes.
Someone whose business his capital is 2 to 3 million,
Yes.
and the landlord wants close to 700,000. That's almost halfway of his capital gone, and yet he has to pay again rent to be current. Not only that, they have utility bills waiting at home.
Yes.
All the president only said, umeme and water should halt. They should not disconnect, but they should continue accumulating the money. So you hear you're paying 600 in your house rent for business. Utility bills are coming. Umeme and electricity is 200,000, close to 1 million. You find your business collapsing. What do you think are the measures that can be taken so that we can save the situation?
Thank you.
Now and after.
Thank you,
Short and
Mr.
long term.
Ukash. I think the biggest thing which government needs to do is, first of all, handle the issue of corruption. You had my colleague here, the economist, trying to analyze the budget of the country, the government expenditure. And he did inform us of the reserves that we are supposed to be having as a government. Because if we didn't celebrate Labor Day, we are not going to celebrate the Women's Day. The Women's Day we celebrated. That was before the COVID. But we are not going to celebrate the Martyrs' Day, I am sure. We shall not. And we have cut off all travels abroad. And if we computed how much we have been spending in those few activities, you may find that we are able, like he did say, to have money that we can give as interest-free loans to most of our people, adding it on what has been existing, like Ruwero Rwenzori and so on. So
Corruption.
Yes.
Are you afraid, like me, that even if the government decided to bail out, the mafias will eat the money? Mafia say it's a word for opposition. No, I've had ministers in NRM, ministers in government crying of mafias.
If corruption was only targeted against the opposition, then the president wouldn't have put there so many units that are fighting corruption.
Sure.
Because you can now see the IGG is there, was introduced by the president. We have the Minister of Ethics and Integrity. Now today we are having the Nakalema unit.
So do you have a fear like me that even if the government decided to bail out, actually the most vulnerable may not be affected directly, may not be worked upon because...
Absolutely. Because when you look at like the National Task Force, I know we are going to reach that topic. You find that, my brother said, first of all, we say our economy is not yet affected. That is according to the president. And like my brother was making it clear, we had the supplementary budget. In 2000, in March, April, we passed a supplementary budget. Parliament passed a supplementary budget before even the closure of the financial year. And yet we had cut all those travels like my brother was saying. So it means we had some money. But then, if we are not fighting corruption, if we don't address the issue of corruption, then there is no hope that our economy will recover.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bomira. I'm afraid I have to cut you short a little because we need to go into our second issue, which is assessing the performance of the National Task Force. Gilbert, you have something? 20 seconds.
Thank you. On the way forward, let's look at long-term reliefs rather than short-term reliefs. You are giving me a kilogram of posho, a kilogram of beans. How long can it sustain me? I would now advise the government that let's look at housing policies. How comes that all people who are renting are now at the mercy of landlords, yet you have the housing policy? The policy would be talking of emergency situations where the landlords can stop pressure on our citizens. Number two, we are talking about utility reliefs such as water, electricity. These ones are meant by the public for public consumption. Why do we need to buy electricity which the government has used taxpayers' money to generate and supply in a situation of emergency like this? Lastly, loan policy should not be the exit route. That is what I would advise the National Task Force, or even those who advise the president. We have already gone for IMF loan to the tune of $491.5 million. That money is going to be paid by Ugandans who are already crippled by the situation. Remember, they have their own burdens of fees, their own burdens of their own loan. So loans should not be an exit route. At the moment, we should be using these available resources. The salaries you are giving to MPs as bonanzas, those are the resources you should be now. Because if you have 1 million and you have 10 days no more to get the money, then you use the 1 million you have, divide it by the number of days, that you should not use 1 million in 1 day, yet the 9 days you'll be bankrupt.
Absolutely.
Mr. Host, just 10 seconds. I'm emphasizing on corruption. It is on record that Uganda is a corrupt country, and my worry is, even if these officers, government officials, who have stayed away for that period without coming back to offices, when they resume the duties, they will be coming to recover now to fill those.
They'll be more hungry.
More hungry than that. That's also why they will not come to serve the interests of the people. And on top of that, government should listen. This issue, the information we are hearing about, that government wants to reward.
Topic of assessment of the COVID-19. The most recent innovation they had is placing the 10,000 requisition from 1.5 workers, which I've disagreed with that for the whole week. Me personally, I think it has come at a time when everybody looks vulnerable financially. People are crippled financially. You get my point? And at a time where Ugandans are losing faith in the government because of issues pertaining accountability. We've had even the president reading lots of donations, though accountability we've not had from the National Task Force, even the District Task Force. What they do best is even acquiring more bigger loans from IMF. How do you rate the COVID Task Force Just a minute, because we're out of time. I'll give you a minute.
I
How would you rate it out of 10 and why?
I just want to thank you for this topic. The COVID-19 task force, in my view, has not performed to the expectation of the citizens of Uganda. Why? Just because you look at, like, the national task force is headed by the Prime Minister, but we have not had the Prime Minister trying to address the nation about the COVID-19 situation. Instead, we have always had the President. And therefore, the President just tells us something based on hearsay, whereby the Prime Minister is the one now who the hand is on. But this is the man who does not, address the nation, update us. Number two, you have heard about donations and so on, but we have not had the accountability.
Yeah.
We have had the President mentioning, we have received this, but then we have not had him saying
the accountability issue applies on both national and district.
And also the district. Now, like if I may come now to the district, the President has repeatedly addressed the nation, saying the agricultural markets are open. But today, I had the police chasing people who are bringing their agricultural goods to the market, giving an example of Katadova. Now, it means that whereas the President says, but the Deputy RDC of Kasese went and denied that information on Radio Messiah. He said they only received 16 million. So where are we going? You heard of Wera Hospital, the isolation center, having received nothing, not even a mattress, even when we are told that 160 million has come to the district. So the performance, I think, has not been to our expectation.
Someone told me even the National Task Force on only Kampala issue, they was out to serve 1.5 million people in Kampala and Wakiso food, and they did not meet the expectations.
Exactly.
Someone told me there's a mafia was behind that, and they thought the president will not extend the lockdown. So they thought if they give a quota away, or less than a quota, and the 2 weeks are done, there will be no business. Of course, we are open. Why do you want food again? We are open, and the president
now you look
extended.
Finally, you look at the recommendation of the task force, where we have been having the drivers of trailers. Now, the task force recommends that these drivers should be stationed at the border where they test from, but the president says no. They have to continue. So where are we? Is it the national task force or the president? So
challenging. So that's why I want to chip in, Mr. Saul. Do you have any reason to pay the 10,000 requested by the national task force? Because that's the most recent innovation they've had.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. Because now we are above 2 months since they said people in Kampala and Wakiso will be provided with relief. But up to date, a number of them are still complaining. Now, and on top of that, there's no need why 10,000 should be imposed on workers. This should be a request and on negotiation. At the same time, a number of workers...
Even if it was a request on negotiation, would you really wholeheartedly pay the 10,000?
Not at all.
According to the performance, your sister performed.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Because on the onset, you saw the 4 officers in the Prime Minister's office who were arrested because of hiking prices of beans and posho. That was just a total sign of corruption.
Which seemed rotten.
Exactly, and the mistrust. So there's no need why you should say the national and the district have performed in any way. You heard of the office of RDC in Mukono, which had received 500 mattresses. Only 2 were seen, 300 were missing. And when you come down here, you really look at many mothers died because many would continue raising the RDC, they not be picked. Even there was no enough transport for all these areas. Instead of centering some vehicles or giving permission to some people who are around some counties to be in standby so that they're able to transport people have been referred or expecting mothers, and you have heard how many have died. Even today I heard one woman died at Parisa as a result of delay of transport. There's one woman who died at Mubende. She was walking towards the health facility. So you just find that there's just nothing that have been resettled into these task forces, and you have had GISOs and even officers of RDCs asking for kitu kidogo in their offices before they can offer services.
That's really
so there's nothing we can be proud of.
That's
it is
really
disappointing. And I mean, there's what I can say, and there are even other donations that have ended up disappearing in these task forces, and as a result of that, because people have lost their trust, they no longer want even to contribute more. Because like in Kasese, 6 MPs brought here 6 full lorries of relief aid, but nothing reached them. In their constituencies, their voters are asking them, we heard you that you brought a lot of food to them, but there's nothing that has reached us. But even within the municipality, the Burembe Division, Nyamwamba and Central, within the municipality, they are also crying for that relief. No, so we are asking ourselves, where is that relief?
Where does the relief go?
My worry is, why should government rely on donations of individuals and companies than the public relying on government?
Sure.
No.
That's a question to ask. Where does relief go?
Exactly.
Conclusively, that's what Mr. Chairman asked. And it is too sad for the deaths that we have gotten just around the COVID and the restrictions, from the restrictions or guidelines put across by the lockdown. It's too sad. The question is, where does the relief go? Though, the COVID-19 task force also require fair hearing. Someday, I'll host some of them around, and they should really tell us where the relief goes. Now, to sum it up on this topic, I think we're out of time. Mr. Gilbert, the innovation of the National Task Force of the 10,000, doesn't it look like vulgarizing the situation? You request for people's 10,000, and then you're giving 40 million to MPs and many other issues. Doesn't it vulgarize the whole situation?
Political statement and cheap popularity is what we should look into. Number one is that everyone who would wish to help. No, I don't need to give and be read on cameras. How many people surround me, I'm helping. If I am to be blessed or if I am to be recognized, if my money or my 10,000 or whatever I give it to the task force, it helps somebody who doesn't know that I'm the giver. How am I recognized? It's better I know that Ukash has 5 children. He has been laid off work. My 10,000 is here. In any case, Ugandans are helping. If we are not helping, you will see how many people are crying on the streets asking for government intervention. Performance of the COVID-19 task forces, both at the national and at our local levels.
In 30 seconds, we are concluding.
It is very absurd to look at 30 or 42 million Ugandans and you assume that those who are troubled with the situation are mainly in Kampala and Wakiso. Forgetting that the most affected communities which have always lacked food, even when there is no lockdown, is the Busoga region and northern Uganda. If I was to take aid, those would be my areas of concentration. Because even when there was no lockdown, those were sleeping on empty stomachs. I rest my case.
Thank you so much. It's really been a very quite interesting discussion. I loved it. Myself, I enjoyed every bit of this discussion. I would have loved to have more of it or to continue with this debate, only that my producer says our timing is almost up. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. Never forget to smash a like and also the bell on your right side so that you can never miss any of our uploads. I'm the host. My name is Ukash International. We are shooting live from Cafe Olimako and this is K Vision TV. My colleagues I've had on board on behalf of all the team is Mr. Gilbert, an economist, Mr. Bomera on my right, and then on my extreme left is Mr. Saul Matee, the chairperson of FDC, Kasese District, and Regional Coordinator of FDC. Never miss a clip from K Vision TV by subscribing. Have a good evening. Thank you.
K Vision TV.